Wow, my man.
It's the sport of kings, better than diamond rings. Football,
Wildcats.
football,
Wildcats.
football,
Wildcats.
football,
I got it.
Wildcats.
football,
Wildcats.
football,
Wildcats.
football.
Welcome to the Married with Picks podcast, season 5, episode 10, week 10. All right, so we have 4 teams on bye this week. The Browns, the Packers, Raiders, Seahawks. And again, we're going to try to get through this quickly because we're behind the 8 ball on this. Okay, so first game is the Giants at Panthers in Germany. This opened at Giants -1. It is now up to Giants -6.5. These are both 2 and 7 teams. I just realized I forgot to look and see when these teams left for Germany.
What's your thoughts on these early morning games? 9:30
I hate
starts.
them personally. I'd rather have like a Friday night, Saturday night than a Sunday effing morning.
Well, I could vouch that you're not a morning person.
I'm not a morning person. And if you have things to do on a Sunday and you don't want to do them during the football games with the 9:30 game, you have no time to do that.
Think about you're on the West Coast and this game starts at 6:30 in the morning.
What? But like life would be weird on the West Coast as far as I'm concerned because everything would be 3 hours earlier.
How many people do you think stay up all night long Saturday to watch that game?
I think most people probably just sleep through it, especially since you're given the Giants and the
I mean,
Panthers.
if you're young, right? College age, maybe. If you're out on the West Coast and your team's playing, maybe you stay up.
Okay, this aside is not a good...
What's the rush? Where's the fire?
Okay, so anyway, back to what I was saying. We have 2 and 7 teams.
Giants, Panthers.
We have Bryce Young. It will be starting for the Panthers again. Panthers coming off their second win of the season versus the Saints last week. I don't know that maybe the Giants deserve to be 6.5 point favorites to anyone,
Yeah, right?
but I don't care. I'm taking the Giants here, and I feel pretty good about it.
It's funny you say that because that's the exact same thought process I had when it was said and done, and I looked to see what was going on with this game. So 6.5, the Giants favored by 6.5. I don't think I really care as long as it's under a touchdown. I mean, that's the way I really feel. Like it might go up to 7, and what the worst case scenario, it's a push. I mean,
I wouldn't go over 7 for sure.
I think this is the Giants game, and they seem to play better out of East Rutherford. You know, they're not very good at home.
They have a good defense. Their defensive line should be able to take advantage of the Panthers' offensive line. Panthers obviously traded away Deontay Johnson. Adam Thielen, I don't think has come back.
Well, Slayton's out for the Giants, right? So
Yes.
he's been coming on a little bit at wide receiver. But you got Theo Johnson at tight end. Seems like he's doing a little bit. And don't forget Tyrone Tracy Jr. is healthy, the running back, and he's been looking good. So this could be a get-off game for him against the Panthers.
Yep.
You got, but it comes down to like Bryce Young's the quarterback of the Panthers, right?
Right.
I know, and they won last week. They snuck that win
just did
against
well.
New Orleans to give them the 7th straight loss. So they're coming off a win. They're pretty much like partying probably because they
good.
just got to win.
They're
Yeah.
good with 2.
Yeah,
I mean, do
exactly.
they really want to win more games? Probably not.
Yeah, I like the Giants here.
All right, moving on. Next game is the Patriots at the Bears. This opened at Bears -4.5. It's up to Bears -6.5. So this is a kind of a tough one because I do kind of want to take the Patriots, but I just can't do it. Their defense is not good. Their offense has looked better since Drake May took over, but they couldn't even get a win against the Titans last week. Bears have a much better defense. I worry a little bit because it sounds like there may be some dysfunction going on in the locker room with the coaches and the players.
Eberflus is losing the locker room, right?
Yeah, so this is at home. They did beat up on a couple bad teams before their bye week and then came out of the bye week pretty flat against the Commanders and lost pretty handily to the Cardinals as well last week. But I think this is probably a get-right spot for them if they're going to get right at home. They are going to be without their left tackle and their right tackle and their backup left tackle.
Wait, are they already all out or questionable?
No, they're all out. I didn't write down names, but it is their starting left tackle, their starting right tackle, and their backup left tackle that are out. I don't think it matters so much up against the Patriots, though. So, it's not a strong play for me, but I do lean Bears.
Well, the Patriots are the ones with a bunch of questionable linemen.
No, the Bears, the Chicago Bears, their left tackle, their right tackle, and their backup left tackle.
Oh.
I didn't write down their names
Okay.
because they're not the easiest names in the world to write down, but I know it for fact.
All right, moving on from the blow up that you're having, I'm talking about the Patriots offensive line. Their left tackle's questionable, their left guard's questionable, their right guard's questionable.
Okay,
I did
so
write
they
down
have-
their names. They're Layden Robinson, they're Michael Jordan, and Verdarian Lowe.
Okay, so the Patriots also have offensive line issues.
Yeah, this is a game of two lineman problems offensively. This one's just tough, right? Because Chicago's losing the hen house. I mean, Eberflus looks like he's going to be the next one fired. And, like you said, they couldn't get a win last week. Patriots, same position. There's like two bad teams, same position. Bears are 6.5 favorites. I've realized that now. I was struggling. I was looking for both reasons. Probably the thing to do here is to check on the offensive line for the Patriots. And if those two of those three guys are playing, take the Patriots. It's 6.5 points. Take the points. You got Mays coming back and looking stronger, and Ramondre Stevenson is healthy. He's got no injury designation. So I think that's enough with Hunter Henry. That
I don't know. I'm worried. Like the Patriots are getting run all over. Like Tony Pollard ran all over him last week.
But I think the Bears just have bigger issues, right? Like DJ Moore, like what's going on
They
there?
paid him a whole lot of money to do nothing. I was desperate in our fantasy
He's clowning
league
the whole team.
for a wide receiver, and I thought, well, they paid him a lot of money. They're going to use him, right? He had one game against his former team where he had 2 touchdowns. Other than that, he's done absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I got him in a couple leagues too, so it's hurting me.
But
So
I don't know. I still
the
think
Bears are better at home than they are on the road
Yes.
for sure. I mean, they haven't won on the road, I don't think, all season.
no,
Right.
correct.
So now they're playing home. So
Correct.
4-0 at home, 0-4 away.
Yes.
It's pretty much the tale of two cities. I mean, they'll probably win the game by 3 points.
And
I would
this
take
is
the points.
Chicago. So this is one thing we haven't really talked about at all this year is weather. But we are getting to that point in the season. Chicago, the windy city. It's going to be windy there on Sunday. I don't know if that changes anything for you.
Well, that's the key to the running game, right? You need the offensive linemen to be healthy if the Patriots are going to come in here and have a chance to keep the game close. So
All right. So you are on the...
I'm on the Patriots.
Okay, good for you. All right, next game is the Bills at the Colts. This opened at Bills -2. I have it as Bills -3.5, but I think it's Bills -4 at this point. So I'm really torn on this game. I don't think I'm going to touch it. But I think my approach last week was not a great week for me. So I'm trying to kind of cross out last week when I do my picks this week because I don't want to be skewed by what happened last week. The Bills obviously are a good team. They can beat up on bad teams. I don't know that the Colts are that bad. They may have looked bad last week, but I will credit that to Brian Flores. Bills coming off a tough win over the Dolphins. That game did not go the way I expected. They do take on the Chiefs next week, which I think could be important. Keon Coleman is going to be out for them. Amari Cooper is questionable on the other side. Michael Pittman has already been ruled out. I got a little worried because DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart, defensive tackles for the Colts, and I think that's 2 of the 3 guys they kept talking about on the broadcast last week were DNP, but it sounds like that's just kind of veteran rest type stuff, so it sounds like they'll be in there. Colts have been a good cover team. It will be Joe Flacco at the helm again this week. So I'm trying to ignore last week. I would lean Colts covering this 4 points, but I don't know that I'm going to touch it because it could go one of 2 ways. Either it's a close game or the Bills just blow them out like they've done to a lot of teams this year.
The line's going up to 4, and it brought a smile to my face because I think this is a Flacco game. Bills are not as great on the road. I like the Colts. I think Flacco, you can't go against Flacco until, you see that he's going to go on the ultimate downhill for being old. But the guy still has a cannon of an arm and can still get the job done. He's not Joe Montana, but I like in this situation the Colts. I think they need to win. They're desperate to try to stay into the playoff picture.
I think the public is all over the Bills here, so that makes me feel better about wanting to go Colts.
That's why I like Colts. I think
and you can run on the Bills.
Close game. Bills probably take the win, but you're going to continue to drive the line up. I'll take the points all day.
Okay. All right. Next game is the Vikings at the Jaguars. This opened at Jags -2. It is shifted all the way up to Vikings -6.5. This is actually my favorite game of the week, although the money is heavily on the side of the Vikings, which has me a little bit worried. Lawrence, I don't know
when.
when.
Of 7 out there, by the way.
Okay, well, I wouldn't go above 7. I'd get in on this one now. Trevor Lawrence, I don't know when or where or how, but apparently he's hurt his non-throwing shoulder, and it's trending towards he's not going to play. He is
Mac Jones,
technically questionable. Yeah, it doesn't really matter to me. This is Brian Flores up against either Trevor Lawrence or Mac Jones, who already like to throw the ball to the other team. Jags don't have a real run game either, so that's not going to help them. I don't think Trevor Lawrence or Mac Jones is going to fare well up against the Brian Flores defense. I almost kind of feel like that's where this phantom injury has come from, is because Peterson doesn't want to put him out there against Brian Flores. So I would take this all day up to a touchdown on the Vikings.
Yeah, I agree. I like the Vikings, too. I think they get right here.
All right. So next game is the Broncos.
Especially if it's Mac Jones.
Broncos at the Chiefs. This is a division game. Chiefs have dominated this matchup all the way back to 2015. All L's for the Broncos, with the exception of the last matchup, the second matchup of last year. The Broncos won that game 24-9. I remember that game. The Chiefs did win the earlier matchup, which was like 2 weeks prior, 19-8. Chiefs haven't covered the big lines. It did go from 9 in favor of Chiefs down to 7.5. I feel like I always get the Chiefs wrong. I tried to reverse psychology myself last week with the Chiefs. It didn't work. So my initial thought was it's a division game. The Broncos did beat them last year. I love DeAndre Hopkins as a player. I love it for him that he's with the Chiefs. I hate it because I hate the Chiefs that he's there. But Patrick Surtain probably will shadow him for most of the game. Mahomes did kind of do something to his ankle last week, so that might work to the Broncos' advantage. I'm just going to lay off this game, but my initial thought was take the points.
With the Broncos, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I think you're making a good decision by laying off here because the Broncos look like a fraud to me. They have a nice record. It's 5-4, but they're not showing up against the good teams. They're getting all their wins against the bad dreck of the NFL. They're rolling against the Ravens last week and lost 41-10 on the road. Now
they're obviously a team that's not built to come back from a deficit, and that's what happened last week. Now, are the Chiefs going to come out and put up 14 points on them? I don't think so.
Why not?
Because I mean, the Chiefs.
Game,
I know
right?
they're
but the Chiefs are really starting to
undefeated, but they're not that juggernaut necessarily.
Well, here's what I think is that as you see DeAndre Hopkins get more, DeAndre Hopkins is probably going to be the trade of the year. He's probably saved. Literally, I know they're 8-0, and on top of the NFL. But he probably saved the trade that they made for DeAndre Hopkins, probably saved their Super Bowl title hopes because with Xavier Worthy, the rookie, you can tell that you just can't trust him.
That was terrible last week.
Yeah, you can't trust him. They look like
he's wide open and he can't stay in bounds.
Yeah. I mean, he missed that play early in the first quarter. And any other time they're running the ball, they need to do it out of a different formation or something because it seems like they're telegraphing the reverse to Worthy when they try to run the ball. with him.
Because that's the only thing he can do.
Well, any other time that they try to get him the ball, I mean, it looks like they're trying to force it in there and it's not working. So most of the times in Andy Reid's offense, he'll take the speed guy and just run him deep to try to get the coverage to loosen up for the guy underneath. Well, now the guy underneath can be DeAndre Hopkins, and that's going to be a problem for the NFL. So you started to see DeAndre Hopkins get a little more action last week at the second game in the lineup. You're going to see him to continue to get more targets and put up better numbers. And I think what it's really going to inevitably do is make it a change in season performance for Travis Kelce, because he should start to get some room as well. So now that they got that solid three, even if Worthy's just running the coverage off, you can work the underneath coverage with DeAndre Hopkins and Travis Kelce. So I think that this game is that situation where the Chiefs are the good team. Obviously, they're 8-2, and Denver, it's just too much for them to handle. They do have a good defense, maybe close first quarter heading into halftime, but I look for Kansas City in the second half to really pull away here.
All right. So the next game is the Falcons at the Saints. This opened at Falcons -1.5. It's up to Falcons -3.5. This is a division game. These teams played back in week 4. Derek Carr did start that game. Falcons won 26-24. I'm not sold on the Falcons. Saints have been so bad on offense and defense. I don't know. I always love to play the new coach bounce, whatever they call it. And I'm going to do it here. The money is all over the Falcons. I think it's a good spot. There was some comments that Kamara made to the media about talking about how practice has been so much different, that the guy that's stepping in as the interim coach is preaching accountability. So I like to hear that. Chris Olave obviously left the game last week with the concussion. He's out for this game. They don't have a whole lot at receiver, but they do have Kamara. And I think they can get the cover here, 3.5.
Well, it's Mason Tipton at receiver, and then you're working into the backups of Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who everybody remembers from the Green Bay Packers, Jermaine Jackson. I mean, nothing like too great, but look for them to work the tight end, Juwan Johnson. You also have Taysom Hill, so they can work him in at quarterback, running back, receiver. Look for a heavy dose of Taysom Hill to get involved in the offense.
And I think they might be getting their center back.
Yeah.
McCoy, who you guys took out in week 3.
The Eagles?
Yes.
Well, they say he's still on the IR, but let me see. He's designated to return to reserve on Thursday. So, yeah, he'll be back, which is going to be a big help for the running game and Alvin Kamara. The biggest thing here, though, I think is, after a couple game layoff, which they really obviously have struggled, they obviously struggled losing 7 in a row under Spencer Rattler, right? They're getting Derrick Henry his second game since returning. Sorry, Derek Carr. He's not running back. Derek Carr is coming back for his second game, so he should look less rusty, even though he doesn't have Olave, which is a big disappointment. Long story short, I think they get off the snide here and win the game outright, but I like them plus 3.5. You're going to get the extra hook. That's probably my play of the day, is take the Saints.
Huh, I wouldn't go that far, but okay.
No, I think this is a good prime game. The Falcons are a better team, but you got to look at the situation. Carr should be looking pretty better. And with, I think you nailed it on the head when they switch the coach sometimes, especially when the coach is not communicating well with the team. It's a breath of fresh air, and you get a different level kind of effort coming out of the gate from the team that just fired their coach.
I mean, defense was definitely. Did you know? I did not realize this, but Derek Carr actually got, what was his name? The coach that just got fired. Can't think of his name. But he got that guy fired twice. He got him fired from the Raiders and the Saints. It's not necessarily Derek Carr, but technically he was
He didn't get him fired.
I know, but he was the coach both places, and he got fired.
Watch for Alvin Kamara here.
Dennis Allen, that's...
Yeah, Dennis Allen.
Next game, 49ers at Bucks. Opened at 49ers -4. It's up to 49ers -6.5. So obviously Bucks put up a pretty good fight last week against the Chiefs. I expected a little more difficulty for them last week. These teams, the 49ers and the Bucks, have played twice, once in 2022 and once in 2023. In 2022, it was Tom Brady. They lost that game 35-7. And then in 2023 with Baker Mayfield, the 49ers won that game 27-14. 49ers have Fred Warner in the middle of the field, so I don't know if Baker is going to be able to connect with his favorite pass catcher, Kate Otten at this point, with Mike Evans still out. So 49ers pass catcher. Why are you laughing?
Because he says pass catcher, first of all, and you're struggling to say it, so you should probably just find another term. Tight end.
Tight end. Well, he's a tight end, but anyway.
I get it. That's just funny.
All right. So 49ers are coming off a bye. I'm struggling.
Say it again.
Pass catcher.
Oh, nice. Nailed it.
They are getting CMC back. I don't know what to expect there necessarily after his long layoff.
You know what you're going to get, CMC, even if he doesn't get a lot of
expect...
stats, they're going to have to still account for him. So you're going to have basically a big Brock Purdy game here.
I would expect them to work in the other guys a little bit more than maybe they did last year.
Yeah, I mean, the defense is definitely going to suck up with CMC there. You have to account for him. Even if it's first game back.
And then we do have Tampa Bay coming off the short week overtime loss, which apparently there are some stats that teams don't fare very well the next week when they go to overtime. I couldn't find necessarily numbers, though, but that seems to be a thing. So the 49ers, obviously, this year have struggled to keep their leads, but I feel pretty good about this game with them coming off the bye, being a little healthier maybe than they had been, that they can do it here. So I like the 49ers.
I think, like I said, you're going to have CMC in the game. Give him a little bit of a push here, obviously, for his first game back since he was out for pretty much the entire season. But I think you got to look for not Kerry Kittles, but George Kittle, the tight end, to have a big game here as Purdy gets a little bit more room to work throwing the ball down the field. I like the Niners.
Okay, good. All right, next game is the Steelers at the Commanders. This opened at Steelers -1.5. It's shifted over to Commanders -2.5. This is an interesting game. I personally am not sold on Russell Wilson. Some of the catches that George Pickens has made in a few of these games were incredible catches, but I don't think you can rely on that type of production. They did trade for Mike Williams, who personally I love this for the Steelers because I hate the Steelers. And if you're going to be throwing up balls like that.
I was going to say you hate Mike Williams.
If they're going to be throwing up balls like that to Mike Williams and expecting him to come down with them, I have a feeling they're going to be disappointed. So there are a lot of...
What is the chances that one of the top connection duos through the rest of the season is Mike Williams?
Well, number one, Mike Williams won't be on the field that long because aside from his other issues, he's also injury prone. So...
I don't know. I could just see, though, Russell Wilson and Mike Williams getting on the same position. Even if Russell Wilson just launches the ball up in the air, like that's what Mike Williams, the only thing he can typically do is just go get that jump ball like Randy Moss
I need to go back and look. Because like how many like really good games has Mike Williams actually played?
I mean, he's put up some... The problem is he's put up some beast numbers.
Yeah, in how many games though?
Well. No, yeah, you're right.
Probably less than a handful.
With San Diego, he didn't really, he didn't hit it every game. Obviously,
No.
It was like 1-3, 1-4.
Very much boom or bust.
Really huge games, yeah.
Yeah. So.
And I think there's a lot of pressure playing in New York. Look, some people just can't play in New York, no matter what happens. Especially, they melt underneath the bright lights, and there's a lot of pressure there
Under
with Aaron
the
Rodgers.
dirty looks from Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you lose your confidence and you're not, getting positively reinforced by your quarterback, it's going to pay a toll. And probably somebody that's, let's say struggles as much as Mike Williams, it's not going to snap back. Now, you got two guys that are pretty much in a reclamation project type, mode in Russell Wilson and Mike Williams. I'm just saying, I hear what you're saying. I know who they both are, and I don't necessarily have confidence in either one of them. But I do see a world where they connect together and get hot together, and the Steelers start to, strike some fear into people as we head into the playoffs, because you have to admit, right, and they might not have been the best teams over the last couple of years, but Mike Tomlin is probably a top 5 coach in this league.
I don't agree with that either.
Well, a lot of people don't like Tomlin, but the guy
he gets
has
a
been
ton
there
of
a while.
praise.
He's
I
been there
just
a
don't
while.
agree with it.
He's been
at
there
all.
a while.
Yeah,
Well, you gotta
and
look at what
he's got a great above 500 record. Like he finishes every season 9-8. That's great.
It's like he has yeoman.
What does that do for you?
It's like yeoman's work. Like what have they really had offensively? Right?
What have they had offensively?
Since
Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown,
Roethlisberger, Brown, and the running back
Bell, Le'Veon.
Yeah, Le'Veon
And
Bell.
what did he ever win with that? Nothing.
He won a Super Bowl, didn't he?
Yeah, or like his first year as the coach, and that was basically, what was that other guy's name?
Well, I'm just
was
saying
his
recently
team.
that
I liked him.
Recently, he has had some good records with the team and not much talent, and especially at the quarterback position.
He's done a great job of getting a shitty team above 500 for the season. That's about it. But anyway, he's got some great stuff. I do. I feel like Mike Tomlin gets so much more respect than he deserves. He does have some good numbers to support this game. Tomlin is 25-5 versus rookie quarterbacks in his career. He is 13-4 straight up after the bye week. I think they have 7 straight wins after the bye week here. He has some proof as a good road dog as well, although I don't have numbers on that. The Commanders are going to be without Brian Robinson at running back again this week, and while they did trade for Marshawn Lattimore from the Saints, he is not playing in this matchup. I'm not sold, but I'm just not touching this game, to be honest.
I got a quick question for you.
Go.
Mike Tomlin, who would you rather have as the head coach of your team, Mike Tomlin or Nick Sirianni?
Ugh. Mike Tomlin.
All right. Okay. I agree there.
Okay.
I like the Commanders as well, though. After all that, I'm not going to put
say I like the Commanders.
I thought you like the Commanders. I like the Commanders.
I mean, if you
Who are
forced
you
me
gonna
to
go?
take a side, I would take the Commanders.
I mean, I just think that, the Commanders are the real deal. And it might be a tight one, but I look for maybe a 4-point win for the Commanders. But it might be a situation where they're up, 14, 11 points, and
let's
they get
put
a
it this
backdoor
way.
touchdown that doesn't actually cover.
If Mike Williams has 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, it's going wrong.
Yeah, well, then all bets are off. If what I'm saying about, the electricity between the two, getting a connection, and that starts this week, then all bets are off. But we'll see. I'm not going to go into it thinking that's going to happen. They're going to need a little bit of practice together. So I will take the Commanders this week.
All right. Next game is the Titans at the Chargers. This opened at Chargers -4. It's at Chargers -7.5. Sounds like Will Levis will be back at quarterback for the Titans. Titans are just so bad, and Will Levis is going to make mistakes. Chargers obviously have a good defense. They may be able to capitalize on that. I guess one thing maybe I overlooked in some of my picks on the Chargers in recent weeks has been the fact that Justin Herbert wasn't healthy earlier in the season. He was dealing with an ankle. His pass catchers weren't healthy either. What's that? What are you laughing?
Pass catchers.
Pass
You keep saying
catchers.
pass catchers.
His wide receivers.
And tight ends.
And yeah, when Will Dissly is your top pass
Sometimes
catcher,
running backs.
that's not good. So I don't see how you can take the Titans. Let's put it that way. I'd prefer to get it under 7. I don't think you're going to. But
I like the
I
Titans
see who
here.
you have circled.
Yeah, I mean, I just like it over 7 points.
I put in the Chargers to score a defensive touchdown.
Yeah. Well,
Will Levis.
I just...
Because you can't get good odds on Will Levis to throw an interception. It's like -200.
Listen, this is a play against the public. Everybody's going to go Chargers, take the Titans, and don't watch it.
All right. Next game is the Jets at the Cardinals. Jets open at -3. It's down to Jets -1.5. Now, this is a situation where the public seems to be on the Cardinals, but the sharp side is the Jets. Now, I don't know what to do with the Jets. I took the Jets in a few games and they didn't win. Now, last Thursday was like the most bizarre Thursday night game ever. It was just one of those situations where you knew the Jets were the right side, but why, I couldn't tell you. And the only thing that I can think is that the Jets, what's their record on the season now? Do they have 2
3
wins
wins,
or
I
3
think.
wins? So obviously the NFL wanted this whole Aaron Rodgers storyline. I'm not even really sure why, because like who even likes Aaron Rodgers? I don't think anybody does. But we saw last year a ton of Jets games in prime time, and it's the same fucking thing this year, right? The NFL wants you to see them. So I kind of feel like I'm going to take the Jets here. And the only reason I'm going to do it is because if they lose again, like what are their chances on the season? Like making the playoffs, like going anywhere? Very slim.
All right, let's talk really quick. They're 3-6, okay? They're 9 games in. This is week 10, right? So you're playing 17 games. So this will be the 10th. They'll have 7 games after this. They're right now in the 10th position. So they're not that far off of the playoffs. The playoffs are sitting at 5-4. I mean, granted, you can't lose
But the
many more
question-
games.
right.
They're going to have like no mistakes left. But this, I think, is a position where they probably have to win. But if they lose, they can still catch fire.
Right. But I think they have to win this game to even stay relevant.
Well, let me ask you this question. Who is in first place currently in the NFC West?
I don't know what's like west, east, north, south.
The 49ers division.
They're all right there.
Who's in first place?
Who's in first place? The Cardinals.
Yeah. 5-4. They're all right there. I mean, they're only a half game up on the Rams and the Niners, but they're right there from first place. So,
But let's talk about the division that the Jets are in.
Well, the
Who's
division
on
of the
top of
Jets
that?
in, they're in
The
second.
Bills.
Well, we're not talking win the division here. Let's be clear. I mean, they're 7-2,
Well,
the Bills.
I mean, in
and
theory,
I don't
they
think
could-
they're
still
catchable.
could, but
they
you would
definitely
need the
could,
Bills
but
to
the Bills
lose.
would have to implode, which I don't think is going to happen, right? You still got the Dolphins
may
and
have
the
a tougher
Patriots who look
schedule.
soft. They both have two wins only in the division, right? But the point is the Jets are playing for the wild card. At least
Right.
at this point, unless a miracle happens,
Right.
they're looking at the wild card.
No.
So, I mean, they're 1-4 away. That's the one thing you got to be scared about here. They haven't really shown a propensity to be competitive on the road. But this is a situation where I think the Cardinals should not, and my point is the Cardinals should not be first place in the NFC West, right? So it looks they got to start
Okay,
losing
what's
some
the
games
Cardinals
here.
record?
They're 5-4.
They're 5-4. The Jets are what?
They're 3-6.
3-6.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's kind of an ebb
So-
and flow of the season that we talk about a lot of times, like
But
this
okay,
spot
so
in
then
the
why-
calendar.
Why are the Jets even favored in this game at the Cardinals?
It's going down. It's 1.5 now. You know, actually, let me look and just see, you know, if we've had any movement today. It's still at 1.5, and I see like 1 or 2 twos.
Right, but that line is just wrong. It's wrong.
Well, the money's going to be coming in from New York, so maybe that's the scenario. But is 1.5 really like if they made it a pick? If they made it Jets +1, +2, what would you think?
Well, I think regardless, Vegas wants you to take the Cardinals.
Yeah,
That's what
because
they
the Jets
want.
are going to win.
So that's not what you do.
Okay, take the Jets.
And hold your nose.
Jets, Jets. Let's remember that, you know, it is still Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. And they were probably, when they were together, they were, you know, maybe the most electric quarterback wide receiver duo to watch in the last 10 years.
Oh, I wouldn't say the most electric
Well, I mean,
by any stretch.
Oh, yeah?
Consistent, reliable, but electric now. All right, moving on. Next game, Eagles.
Okay.
Did you make a pick?
Yeah.
Jets.
Jets, Jets. Let's go.
Next game, Eagles at Cowboys. This
Ooh.
opened Cowboys -1.5. It's Eagles -7. Obviously, division game. Cowboys have been so bad, and now Dak Prescott is out. It's going to be Cooper Rush to start.
Ooh, scary.
He did get a couple wins when he started. I guess it was like 2022 season. But that was a different team. Their O-line was much better. Their defense was much better. And all I could think of is I can't wait when the Commanders play the Cowboys. It's the Dan Quinn revenge game. It happens in 2 weeks. Be ready for that one. But
Cowboys in trouble, huh? Where is it at?
it's at the Commanders, which I think is better because what's the line going to be? No, it should be at the Cowboys because it's going to be higher if they're home. But anyway, I don't think it matters. Now, I don't see the Cowboys' path to victory. Now, is your coach going to leave 9 points on the table again this week? A little worried about him with his stupid decisions that he makes.
I wouldn't put it past them.
Oh, he's totally going to do it because he's a fucking jackass. But
take the points, Nick.
I guess the bottom line here is that anytime you say there's no way, there is a way. And it happened last week when they played the Jaguars. Like, what were they up? Was it 16-0 or 22-0?
22-0.
And
well, let's be honest, okay? It's 22-0.
And then you miss a field goal at the end, which was the cover.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the bullshit that allowed the Jacksonville Jaguars to get back in that game. I mean, they scored 2 touchdowns within like 15 seconds because after they finally got on the board, Saquon Barkley fumbled the ball, which, you know, he was touched by a defensive player, went down on the ground, the ball popped out after his elbow hit the ground, and somehow the NFL made some stupid, the referees decided to talk it off that counts as a fumble when everybody in the fucking world knows that if you're touched by a defensive player, go down and come down on the ground first with your elbow, and then the ball pops out, that it's not a fumble. The Jacksonville Jaguars then pick up the ball, run it back 20 yards for a touchdown. They actually replay it, and they still call it a fumble just to keep it close. This is the bullshit that the NFL is right now. You can't just change rules. It's like the Democrats are running the frickin' NFL. You just change the rules right in the middle of it and put somebody up for president. That shit can't happen. It's against the rules.
Why do you think that happens, though?
Because it probably has some ties in with Vegas too much where they're bullshitting and they need to make it, you know, Vegas or not, the fact that Jacksonville's down by, 2 touchdowns, they want to make it a close game at 4:00 so that they keep the ratings.
I don't think anybody cares about that.
Well, then why would they make that ruling?
Because there's a lot of money involved. That's why.
Yeah, it's bullshit, dude. And who ended up having to cover that game?
The Jaguars.
Exactly, because all the money was on the Eagles. So that's some bullshit that the NFL really has to, like, you're going to keep doing this bullshit, calling plays that are against the rules, that are, clearly the rules indicate that if you're down and contacted by a defensive player, then the ball comes out, that you're down by contact. That's the whole freaking definition of down by contact. I hit you, you fall on the ground, then the ball pops out. It doesn't matter. You're down by contact. So that's the shit that the NFL is going to have to watch, because if they're going to keep making bullshit like this and mess with the integrity of the game.
Can I ask you a question? Because I didn't see the play. Are you saying that it was a fumble or not a fumble?
It was not a fumble. It should not have been a fumble.
Okay, it should not have been a fumble, and it should not have been a touchdown.
The running back ran left like a sweep, let's just call it, right? But then he's going to get stopped because there's a defensive lineman in his face. So he hops back to cut back like a counter, right? He counters to the other side. The defensive guy reaches out as Saquon Barkley's trying to elude the touch of the defensive player. He taps him in the leg. Saquon goes down because he's trying to cut back, and he falls and hits his elbow on the ground. The ball pops out after contact with the elbow is made with the ground.
Okay.
Down by contact. They review it and still call it a fumble, and it just so happens that it jumped right up into a Jacksonville Jaguars' arms, and he ran it back for a touchdown. So they kept the touchdown.
But why do you keep saying down by contact? Are you saying like once his elbow touches, he's down?
Yeah, like you're down, right?
But that's not down by contact.
Yeah, it is. It's the same thing as if I push you and then your knee hits the ground first.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. Knee, players down. Elbow, players down.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Down by contact.
The contact is relevant for the touchdown aspect.
Yeah, like let's say.
But the elbow is down.
The only argument
for
you would
purposes
have
of a fumble.
Yeah, but by contact I mean the defensive player touched him while he was in the motion of going down to the ground.
Okay.
Down by contact, right? So, in other words, if Saquon Barkley cuts back and a defensive player doesn't touch him at all, and Saquon goes down, in the rules, he was not contacted by a defensive player. The ball's live, even if his elbow comes down.
Okay.
Because he wasn't contacted by a defensive player, then he wouldn't be ruled down or the play would not be over. But because the defensive player touches him and then he goes down,
Right. Okay.
the play should have been blown dead. So when you say the term down by contact, that's really what I'm alluding to, is that the defensive player touched him.
No, I know what down by contact means.
Okay, so I guess your question more is like elbow versus knee.
Okay, let's just move on.
If the elbow's down with the
I'm
ball,
not-
it's down. It's play over.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it shouldn't have been a touchdown for Jacksonville. In other words, even the stupid mistakes that Nick Sirianni was making by, not taking the extra points, which let's just admit, once he does it one time, he's going to keep doing it, because in a situation you don't want to show that you're gun shy.
You don't want to show that you're stupid,
Well,
so you just keep compounding your mistakes.
yes. Well, that's what a
It's
fucking
okay to say
egomaniac.
I made a mistake.
I agree. But he's an egomaniac. You see the asshole up in the stands
Well, look,
talking shit to
Yeah, I
even
know,
our
but
fans.
the
Like, just
bottom-
ignore it, you idiot.
The bottom line to me is that I just believe that you should take the points.
Agreed.
Like, period. There's
But
situations
I would
where
say by him not getting it the first time, and the same situation comes up and he doesn't go for it, he's in his mind, he's looking at, I'm admitting I made a mistake and I'm not going to go for it again. Like an idiot. That's not what he should have done. He should have at least said, I would have respected him more if he said I made a mistake, right? Or, hey, we're up by 22 points. We don't need to go for 2 here.
Yeah, bottom line is you're up by 22 points. You should just take the points.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Now, where did we leave off? All right.
Eagles, Cowboys. Who are you taking?
Like I said, I would take the Eagles, but I'm worried that you can't take the Eagles.
Well, let's
So
put
I
it this way.
wouldn't
It's a
touch this.
division game, right? It's
All right.
The
Anytime
road
you
team
say
up by a
there's
touchdown.
no way in the NFL, there is a way.
And it's
so
Cooper Rush.
I get the feeling there is no way. And that statement in and of itself means I will not touch this game.
Well, here's why I'm going to take the Eagles, okay? Because the strength of the Eagles defense right now is these young bucks that they got running around at linebacker and in cornerback position, okay? And that means that these guys are going to be hungry to go get some lofty balls that are not going to be thrown as tight or as on time. And I see Cooper Rush turning the ball over. So I think if Cooper Rush and the Cowboys are going to keep this close, have a chance of winning or even keeping the bet within win of 7 points, they're going to have to make it a low-scoring game. I don't think that the Cowboys defense can keep the Eagles offense below 24, 28 points, which is where they're going to have to be to cover this game. I see the Eagles getting into the 30s. I look for like a 31 to maybe 10 game. 34-10.
All right. Next game is the Lions at the Texans. This open at Texans minus a half. It's at Lions minus 3.5. So Lions obviously have been rolling this year. A little bit of a slow start, but since then. Texans were last year's darlings that ain't nobody talking about this year. They lost Stephon Diggs last week. Nico Collins is coming off the IR. It hasn't been said for sure whether he's playing this week or not. I think that makes a huge difference. Even Tank Dell is on the injury report now with a back or something. Joe Mixon obviously has been a big weapon for the Texans this year. When he's been on the field, you can't really run on the Lions. Without Nico Collins, I don't see the Texans' path to victory. The money is heavily on the Lions in this one. So as much as I love the Lions and I do hope they win this game, I could see this being a closer game if Nico Collins is on the field. So if Nico Collins plays, I think perhaps the Texans are the right side.
Well, what about Dell? Is Dell still questionable?
Yes, he was questionable.
I mean,
which I didn't think he was questionable last week, so I don't know.
This is a big game, right? And I've gone on a couple times saying that you really shouldn't take the Lions as a road favorite. But they have proven me wrong, and they seem like they are the elite in the NFC. However, I'm not getting away from that. I think this is what a loser would do, is jump away from that theory and then take the Lions with everybody else, and that's where you're going to get burned. It's up to 3.5. I think anything over, it's another one of those games where you want to say, hey, the Lions probably won't cover, but they'll win the game. Could be a 3-1 point win for the Lions. Regardless, that's not what I'm trying to. I don't have to be that finite here. I will take the hook and hopefully get more with the Texans. Joe Mixon is the real deal. So I know it's tough to run on the Lions, but if you get at least one of those receivers in the lineup, I think it'll be enough for Houston at home to keep it close.
Okay, so just to clarify.
Texans.
Okay. All right, and then the final game.
What are you taking?
If Nico Collins plays, I would take the points with the Texans.
All right, I like it.
All right, final game is the Monday night game. It is the Dolphins at the Rams. This open at Dolphins -0.5. It's at Rams -1.5. Now, I don't know what to make of the Rams necessarily. A couple weeks ago, they played the Raiders. The Rams did not win that game as much as the Raiders lost it or handed it to them. They looked pretty good when they played the Vikings on Thursday night. They did have Nakua and Kupp out there in that game. Last week, I was on the Rams. The Rams did end up winning the game. But again, it was not pretty. Puka Nakua did, and I don't think that this was ejection worthy, but he got ejected from the game in the second quarter. But the Seahawks, again, pretty much handed the Rams that game. And even when I thought the game was over, I went back and looked, and it's tied, and they're in overtime. So the Rams did pull out the victory. They didn't look great doing it. The Seahawks looked horrible. So I think, and this is just a gut feel, that this is finally where the Dolphins get back on track. And I think the right side of this is the Dolphins.
I'm on the Rams here. I think Puka Nakua is going to be pissed that he got thrown out of that game last week. You know, let's not forget, he's just kind of getting back into the lineup, had a really good game the first week back. Then he was a little dinged up coming into the second game, and that's where he got ejected. So I like him with Cooper Kupp looking more healthy, and I think Stafford is just going to get warmer and warmer. Let's not forget, they have Stafford has won a Super Bowl, and he's one of even though he's getting a little older, he is still one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. So when you have those two guys and Williams running the ball, I think the Rams are a whole different team when these guys are healthy, and I will look for them to make a push to win this division when it's all said and done.
All right, so you're going to bet with the public on this one.
Yeah, I think you just can't get behind Tua until you see him do it. And the major problem here is, let's be honest, as of right now, it doesn't look like Hill's going to play. He's trying hard to get back, and I probably would expect that guy. I wouldn't put money against him that he's going to play in this game on Monday night. But he's obviously not going to be 100% healthy even if he does play, and that's pretty much the only chance they have to, in hopes to win this game, is he's got to be able to contribute.
Okay.
Go Rams.
All right. So opposite sides of that one. That will do it for us for week 10. If you're watching, like, subscribe, and we'll be back on normal schedule next week.
Wildcat.